Overview of the recent camping trip we went on. On it, I got a leech on me, and we went with what many consider is best practice. To see how it turned out, hang around, let's find out. This was a bit of a spontaneous camping trip. It was only 3 p.m. when we decided to go. Dark well before we even left home. We arrived in the dark, walked for a bit, set up tent in the dark without torches, and were packed up and on the move before dawn. And again with no torches, and then made breakfast. Now, trying out a titanium canteen there with a cup that goes on it and a fitting lid, and a spirit burner, which I've never used before, but lots of places around here we get fire bans, and that means no solid fuel, so this will be a better option. They're using the titanium fry pan. It's a marvellous thing. What I'm cooking in there is pork belly that I purchased and salted a few months ago now, and it stores without refrigeration. Carry it in my pack, soak it in water the night before, and you're off to go, ready to go. It is absolutely delicious. I cut that nice and thick, about 2 centimeters, or I suppose 3/4 of an inch, a bit over 3/4 of an inch. So this is their opportunity to play and just be outdoors. I've had breakfast now. For a bit of fun, I let them do a bit of face painting, and they're learning to do what adults have to be taught to do. We've put the packs aside in the bush. No great effort, we just don't want to pass a by to see them and steal our packs, and I don't want to make them carry their packs everywhere. This trip wasn't about being an endurance test or anything like that, but then we were able to go for a walk a couple of 100 meters with just a water bottle and a few essential items, and we found a creek. It's actually titled a river, but in most people's terms it would be a creek. Water level's pretty low, but it was a marvellous chance to just breathe in the better air. The water flow, it does change things. It's especially important, greater effect near a waterfall. Now we are walking back. We did get some rather bright sun, and you're going to get that. It was a cold morning, and due to no cloud, and that meant a bright day even for mid-autumn or second half of autumn. And getting lots of sun is part of what stops us getting sick. Getting less sun in the winter is part of why we get sick more. The sun's not as bright, it's lower, and when we go out we're covered up. Had a few things planned for that afternoon. Here they are, they're just removing the netting. Like I said, it wasn't meant to be sniper level stuff. We just didn't want to pass it by to spot some backpacks and take all our gear. We were out of a mobile service area for this, so we were reliant on our equipment to keep us warm and comfortable overnight for our scheduled pickup. So 3 backpacks all put close together. It's less of a pronounced bump and doesn't draw your attention quite so readily. We found this enchanted clearing in a pine forest. Started building this hut. We used to do these as kids and spend a lot of time interlocking the branches together so they stayed up. This time we were a bit more time pressed, and we used string to hold the frame together. So we plan to do this, cover it with lots and lots of pine needles, and there are lots of them about, and if nothing else, it cuts the wind and provides great insulation. Just don't keep the fire too close. For the fire, we'd planned to dig a Dakota fire pit. It's basically 2 holes with a tunnel between them. They burn very effectively and you don't get lots of flames and smoke leaping out. Pine trees are a real favourite plant of mine. It has so many uses, and even just making some tea from the pine needles, it's chock-a-block full of vitamin C and a bit of a tonic really, and very refreshing. However, it was late afternoon, and as it says there, if there's one thing the kids don't like in the bush, it is leeches. The kids get really worried. They spot a leech and they want to tear it off straight away. The other thing they want me to do is to burn them or put salt on them, which does kill them very effectively. The problem is that they can, as they die, they can vomit into your bloodstream, and that can be very problematic. The thing is, most of the leeches I've had, I didn't even know they were there. I'd see a blood stain on my clothing, and the leech was long gone, because once they've had their fill, they do drop off. But we spotted this one, and it was too good a learning opportunity to let go. So we cancelled what activities we were going to engage in for the afternoon, and we watched this guy. A lot of leeches are quite small, but what I didn't know was this is it's a Tasmanian leech. Maybe they're elsewhere, I don't really know, because most of the time I don't see them. But he grew very big, so we ended up cooking dinner while he was still there. Yep, that's the new titanium cup and lid, which fits a canteen to go with it. I call this unicorn gear. There's not a lot of it about. It's something I've wanted for a long time. But I'm testing that with a view to importing and selling those. However, yeah, the dude was still there after dinner, so it was frustrating. And it's one thing to have them on you and not realise, and they drop off. But this guy just hung around and hung around. You can see he's actually finished sucking there, at least on one end, and he's just looking around for what to do. We finished dinner. Oh yes, they inject an anticoagulant into you when they first bite, so that you keep bleeding, and then when they're finished you keep bleeding for a while afterwards, and there's the bulk of the blood stain. At this point, we're kind of bored with it. We'd had dinner, we'd washed up, we'd had a hot drink, and he was still there. It's like, yeah, come on mate, you've had your fill. Time to go about your business. However, it's the kids are a lot less concerned about leeches now. They've seen one, they saw I didn't die. You can see it stained through a double layered shirt and my hoodie, while I slept. Yeah, I just thought this was pretty funny. We'd been talking about Lord of the Rings, and the next morning we saw that. So the kids slept without a tent or fly or anything that night, and they were quite happy. And